But when you have millions and millions of dollars worth of inventory sitting on a dealership lot, sitting unsold month to month, that becomes a huge pain point for this dealership. On average, about $1 million worth of inventory will cost a dealership about $5,000 per month. Be on the lookout for repossessions. So many used vehicles right now, lightly used vehicles, are bank repos. After not selling for over 30 days, they hiked the price tag up over $1,500. They went the wrong way with it, right? So now it's $47,900, I think is what they want for it. But they couldn't sell it at $46, so they hiked it up $1,500, $1,800. Make it make sense. King Ranch F350 does not have the high output 6.7 liter power stroke, but it still has an enormous price tag. It's at the end of tax season and they did not see the sales that they wanted to see. So now they're starting to panic, and that's why we see so many car salesmen hanging it up. So many of them are quitting at a far higher rate than normal. I'll show you the price tags, but both of these have been here for several months at this point, which is why you do see so many dealerships get extra excited and extra motivated to actually move the inventory toward the end of the month. Hey YouTube, Untamed here. Have you noticed that your local dealership has likely hiked up the prices on their used vehicle inventory? That's largely thanks to the fact that people are not buying new right now. The price tags of all new inventory, trucks, cars, SUVs, you name it, has been skyrocketed to the moon. And well, that's abundantly clear because people cannot afford to go buy a $70,000, $80,000 pickup right now. They can't afford to go buy $80,000 or $90,000 full-size SUV. If you go to any dealership and look at their history of their used vehicles, they likely hiked it up $1,000 or $2,000 throughout the last month, month and a half, even on inventory that they haven't been able to successfully sell. But when you start looking at the figures that they pay every single month for flooring costs or their floor plan, it begins to make sense. Dealerships are struggling bad with those huge astronomical flooring plan costs. In today's video, I'm gonna peel back the layers of the onion and really explain to you why that is such a pain point for dealerships and why they're trying to make up for it with used vehicle inventory sales. So stick with me. So for starters, used vehicle inventory is actually selling right now because people cannot justify the price tags on new vehicle inventory. It's as simple as that, right? Although interest rates tend to be higher on used vehicle inventory, saving that $20,000 or $30,000 compared to buying that same exact truck brand new, that is what makes sense to people. They can justify those monthly payments rather than buying that brand new F-150 Platinum for $80,000, get one that's 3 years old, 60,000 miles on it, and save $15,000, $25,000 on it. That's why they're justifying it. And because of that, dealers aren't, well, they're not dumb. They see that inventory actually selling. So they're gonna hike up the price tags just enough to make some coin on them. Really, throughout the last 18 months, we have seen quite the drop in the wholesale market or the auction sale prices. It was really between an 18 to 20% drop over the last 18 months, which is kind of wild and pretty unprecedented, really, especially when you look at the last few years throughout the pandemic. Used values have really remained very high, sometimes even just on par with MSRP. We saw it with desirable trims like TRD Pro models, Ford F-150 Raptors. Lightly used examples would often come at a MSRP price tag or sometimes even more. But really, within the last quarter here, we've seen the pendulum swing the opposite direction. We are now seeing wholesale values and auction prices go up tremendously. We're talking a 10 to 12% growth rate just within the last quarter. And a part of the problem for dealerships right now is people are choosing to hold on to their vehicles longer. We talk about it plenty on the channel, but instead of trading in their vehicles every 3 to 5 years, people are choosing to hold on to it maybe 5 to 7 years, maybe even 10 years. They decided that performing that necessary service and maintenance to their current vehicle makes a lot more sense by comparison to buying brand new, at least a lot more sense financially. And when you combine that with the fact that 1 out of 4 auto loans that people have out right now currently has a negative equity on it, meaning they owe more on that vehicle than what it's currently worth. And that national average of all the people who do currently have a negative equity is about $7,300. Let that sink in. So what does that mean? That means 1 out of 4 people with an auto loan out right now cannot justify trading that vehicle in for a new vehicle purchase. They just cannot justify it. Not only are they going to roll in this negative equity, this large negative equity on that new vehicle purchase, when you combine that with the fact that new vehicle prices have been shot to the moon, it just makes zero sense. But most importantly, what is a floor plan cost or a flooring cost? Every single vehicle on a dealership lot costs this dealership money. Any single dealership, whenever they have new vehicle inventory just sitting collecting dust every single month, they're paying a reoccurring interest rate on all that inventory. It's not a large amount per vehicle, but when you have millions and millions of dollars worth of inventory sitting on a dealership lot, sitting unsold month to month, that becomes a huge pain point for this dealership. On average, about $1 million worth of inventory will cost a dealership about $5,000 per month. So you can do the math. If you go to your local dealership, I assure you, you're going to see a lot more than $1 million worth of inventory, right? You're probably going to see maybe $5 to $10 million worth of inventory. So again, I'll let you do the math. That's $25,000 to $50,000 per month that they're paying just to have that inventory sitting on the lot. That becomes a tremendous pain point if they're not moving that inventory for several months. And like I mentioned before, at many dealerships right now, there are so many unsold 2024 units. They've been sitting on their dealership lot for over a year. That's kind of sad. And I think it's important to note that the values of the vehicles on the dealership lot plays into consideration, right? So if a dealership has a bunch of $25,000 and $35,000 Toyota Camrys just sitting on the lot, they're going to be paying a lot less on that flooring plan cost comparatively to a dealership that has a ton of these, right? A ton of these Ford Bronco Raptors, over $90,000. Again, a ton of these high-priced F-150s and these diesel F-250s over there. They're paying a huge premium every single month. Here we have an endless line of unsold Toyota Tundras and Toyota Tacomas. It just keeps going and going and going. Let's face it, so many Americans right now are living paycheck to paycheck. So many Americans are living on their credit card right now. Individually, the national average right now within America is $7,400, $7,500 per individual. Per household, it's over $9,500 on their credit card. That's gone up substantially over the last 5 years alone. And when you combine that with the fact that your mortgage, your rent, everything has just been shot to the moon when it comes to that monthly price, the cost of groceries, the cost of insurance premiums, everything just feels like death by a thousand cuts. So, of course, people are not coming out and buying a new Ford Bronco Badlands for over $83,000. People cannot justify that. So if you recall, during the pandemic, we saw so many greedy dealerships charging markups or addendums over MSRP, $10,000, $15,000, you name it, depending on the vehicle and the desirability of that vehicle, like a TRD Pro trimmed Toyota, a Cadillac Escalade, whatever it was. If there was an opportunity to take advantage of your excitement as a consumer, boy, were they quick to do that, right? So at that time, lightly used vehicles cost about the same as a brand new vehicle because of the whole supply versus demand bit, right? There wasn't a whole lot of new supply, so used inventory prices came up. Right now, we're kind of seeing the opposite effect to some degree, right? New vehicle inventory isn't selling because people can't justify paying these price tags and these monthly payments. So instead, dealers are seeing that, and now they're bringing up the price tags of the used vehicle inventory because they know people can actually afford that. They know that people can actually get a loan on the used inventory if it means saving $30,000 compared to buying new. Although, just a few months ago, if you were to save $30,000 today, you would have been able to save $35,000 or $40,000 on that same used vehicle, right? Because that used vehicle price tags, they're starting to narrow that gap. And they're doing it on purpose between new and used, because they know the used ones are actually moving. Hope that makes sense. I mean, are you really surprised? Here we have kind of a normal run-of-the-mill F-150 XLT, and well, look at this. This is the new norm right here, ladies and gentlemen. Over $64,000 for this F-150 XLT. That's the new norm. This same truck, not that long ago, was between $40,000 and $47,000, but here we are. And heaven forbid you actually need a full-size pickup truck. This here is kind of a higher spec example. King Ranch F350. Does not have the high output 6.7 liter power stroke, but it still has an enormous price tag. Look at that. Over 96 grand, absolutely insane. I don't get it. But hey, let's pretend you're frugal and you want to get a little bit more of a bare bones example. This is the XLT, a little bit more simplistic wheels on it. $60,000. Stripped down, cloth interior, not a four-door. You tell me, is that worth it? I would argue that this truck not that long ago was under 50 grand. And even America's Ford Explorer here, we have an ST over $60,000. The most affordable one of this little lineup here is this ST line example. And still, we're over 50 grand, 52,194 bucks for it. And they still hit you with these bogus add-ons. And if you're actually going to get a vehicle that you can afford the monthly payments on, you're going to get stuck with something like this Ford Bronco Sport. Let me remind you how much they want for them. So $33,480 for this Bronco Sport Big Bend 4x4. How about that? But if you really want to impress Grandma Pearl, you can come get a new Ford Escape and actually not break your bank, right? Here we have an example, 2025 Ford Escape with active all-wheel drive, but you're still right around 34 grand. You tell me, is it worth it? perhaps you really want to break your bank, go get a Ford F-150 Platinum. This one here, just over $85,000. Many of these XLTs are right around that 64, 65 grand mark. All pretty insane, huh? Right now we're seeing dealers deploy every trick in the book, anything they can to try to trick you into coming to buy a vehicle, and it's not working. It's at the end of tax season and they did not see the sales that they wanted to see. So now they're starting to panic, and that's why we see so many car salesmen hanging it up. So many of them are quitting at a far higher rate than normal. Normally it is kind of a high turnover career field, but much higher than normal because they're realizing between their very small salary and the commissions that they get from selling vehicles, it's not enough to keep food on the table. And on top of that, what are they doing? They love deploying the whole fear-mongering tactic of pre-tariff sales. Come get your vehicle before those tariffs hit. You better buy it before the price tags go up 10, 15, 20%. You better buy it quick. They love deploying that. And go to any dealership. That's like almost a written script for every car salesman right now. They want to get you with a pre-tariff sale to get you in there, all due to fear mongering. Don't fall for that nonsense. And if you've been following my channel for a while, you may recognize both of these Ford Mustangs here. Here we have a 5.0, the V8 GT Mustang, and of course over here, the V6 version of it. I'll show you the price tags, but both of these have been here for several months at this point. These two vehicles alone have already cost this dealership a good chunk of change with the floor plan cost. So over $53,000 for this Ford Mustang GT. Let me show you what we're working with the V6 example here. So just over $36,000 for this EcoBoost Coupe Mustang. But again, every single month that they sit here unsold, they're paying a little bit in interest in that floor plan. So as dealers are going through these lenders for their floor plans here, they either get a monthly premium that they pay for or a per day rate per vehicle. But oftentimes those lenders will issue a flat rate for the first 60 days, which is why you see dealerships begin to panic if they don't actually move the inventory within the first couple of months, right? And at the tick of the month, that floor plan cost will trigger again, which is why, and a small factor, but which is why you do see so many dealerships get extra excited and extra motivated to actually move the inventory toward the end of the month. Before the tick of the new month ticks over, they want to move that metal so they don't get hit with more of a fee. And let's be real here, deals like that are not going to cut it. You need to have at least 15 to 25% off the price of this F-150 in addition to that incentivized interest rate. That alone will not cut it. And just upon this lineup here, we have well over 50 Toyota Tundras and Tacomas all lined out, teetering to the back of the lot here. Well over 50. So you can start doing the math when the average price of a Tacoma is over $50,000 and the average price of each of these Tundras here is over $65,000. A couple of them teetering over $82,000. So when you start doing the math on how much they're getting hit with, that monthly floor plan cost, it becomes suffocating for the dealership. Most dealerships have the wherewithal to last 2 years in very, very difficult times before going belly up. That's why we are beginning to see so many dealerships start to close the doors. They can't keep up with it. And as you just saw over there, the Toyota pickup trucks and large SUV segment, they're not selling. The Sequoias, the 4Runners, the Tacomas, the Tundras, the Land Cruisers, they're not selling whatsoever, even with pretty large discounts. But vehicles like these right here, the Toyota RAV4 in particular, the Grand Highlander here, they're actually moving this metal. People like these, this is where a smaller displacement turbocharged motor, hybrid motor makes sense. I'll beat the dead horse here, but this is what people want to see a hybridized platform in. It makes sense to have a very high miles per gallon vehicle option within your RAV4, not so much in your Tacoma. And for the record, unlike that Tacoma over there, the Toyota RAV4 is still built and manufactured entirely out of Japan. So goodness there, whereas that Tacoma, built out of Mexico now. No thanks. And just as a reminder, $43,407 is what a Toyota RAV4 Limited will run you. Obviously, that's nothing to scoff at either, right? That's not cheap by any means, but at least you're getting great fuel economy and good peace of mind in a very well-built Toyota. And you can't say the same for many of the other options on that far end. And I know it's an ugly way to put it, but it appears that so many dealers right now are just holding out. They're holding out almost as if they want a government bailout to happen again. They were so thankful when those tariffs hit because, well, that gave them a very good talking point to try to sell you, to try to trick you into coming out and making an impulse purchase, right? Hey, those tariffs are coming, you better come buy your vehicle. So it just became a pretty ugly, pretty pathetic talking point for so many salesmen. Behind me, we have two very, very good examples of what the car market did to itself. Here we have a Ford Bronco Raptor and a Jeep Wrangler 392. This sports a 6.4 liter Hemi V8. This one here, a twin turbo V6. But between the two of them, they were wildly overpriced. When these first came out, they were right around that $75,000, $80,000 price point. You can get it maybe a little bit different with the options that you select. Same goes for the Wrangler here, but just this last year with the Jeep Wrangler 392 Final Edition, they hiked that price tag up over $100,000. We're talking like 104 grand for a freaking Jeep Wrangler. Although it has a V8 and it's pretty awesome, that's a huge price tag. They just went to the moon with the price tags and they got out of touch with reality, and now they're in a position where you're seeing discounts as large as $29,000 off a Ford Bronco Raptor. I'm not even exaggerating, guys. It's between 20 and 29 grand you can easily get. I follow a number of Facebook pages for both of these platforms here, and same goes for this. Not that much off, but about $10,000 to $15,000 off the Jeep Wrangler 392. They did away with the Final Edition in 24, but now they're bringing it back. But hopefully they're going to be a bit wiser with the price tag. Although I beat this drum often on the channel, I think it's very important to repeat, and that is be on the lookout for repossessions. So many used vehicles right now, lightly used vehicles, are bank repos. People failed to make the payments on the vehicle, then the bank had to repossess it. And well, what does that likely mean for that vehicle? It likely means that the necessary service and maintenance was not performed. If they weren't able to make the monthly payments on the vehicle, what makes you think that they performed the necessary maintenance to keep it up and running nicely? So you can expect a level of neglect if the vehicle had been a bank repo, right? So just be on the lookout for it. Be on the lookout for those signs. We've seen the highest level of 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day auto loan delinquencies since the 08-09 recession. People are just failing to make payments because they can't keep up. Although we did see a 23% increase in the number of vehicle repos that took place in 24 comparatively to 2023, we're expecting to see about the same here in 2025, or even a little bit of an uptick up to 2.1 million vehicles being repossessed. So it was 1.85 million repossessed in 2024, and then 1.5 million that were repossessed in 2023. It's just a compounding issue, and well, that just means the quality of your lightly used vehicle is going down. So it's something to keep in mind. So this F350 Super Duty behind me, it's a Platinum. This is actually the same truck that I referenced in a previous video to you guys. This had been sitting at the dealership lot here for over 30 days at a price tag just over $46,000. The mileage right around 65,000. It's not too bad. That's honestly the reason why I looked at it. It didn't seem that bad on paper. When you get closer to it, yeah, you can tell it has some small issues with it. But after not selling for over 30 days, they hiked the price tag up over $1,500. They went the wrong way with it, right? So now it's $47,900, I think is what they want for it. But they couldn't sell it at 46, so they hiked it up $1,500, $1,800. Make it make sense. So I'll wrap up the video there. It's definitely an interesting phenomenon that we're witnessing right now. People can't afford new vehicle inventory, so they're really capitalizing on that used vehicle inventory, hiking up the price tags just enough to help cover their floor plan cost, because it is becoming a suffocating factor in the big equation here. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your local dealership looks like right now. Are they moving their inventory? And if they are, let me know. I'd be curious to know that in what part of the country you're in. Here in Wyoming, not so much. Thanks for watching as always. If you appreciate this type of content, please let me know in the comment section. And if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a lot, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.